everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So this week, roundup again, but this time we're doing powder products. So I'm very excited to talk about all the powders and blushes and bronzers I tried this year. There aren't as many as the other categories, but I'm still excited for my favorites in these categories. So again, starting in the order that I use my makeup. So first we're going to start with loose powder and then I'll move into the more pressed powders. I do have 8 setting powders. So we're going to start with the worst again and move our way into the best. The worst powder I tried this year, hands down, has to be this. It is the Essence Fix and Last 14-Hour Makeup Fixing Loose Powder. And unfortunately, it says that it's blurring and waterproof and matte. It is matte. I'm not sure about the waterproof parts because my oils come through pretty quickly after applying this. It's supposed to be translucent, but as white as it is in this, it ends up being white on your face. So unfortunately, it didn't do it for me. This should be obvious because this was in a recent video. So this was in my Temu video and it's by a brand called Skyvy. So it does have a slight tint to it, but unfortunately this also just sits on top of the skin. It doesn't sink in. It looks really powdery. It accentuates texture and it's quite drying on the face. For me, it again didn't hit the mark. It's cheap and you can tell it's cheap. It just doesn't melt in nicely with the skin. And if you do use a setting spray on top of it, it still ends up looking pretty powdery. So I wouldn't recommend this, even though it is super affordable. This one pains me to say because I really wanted to like this. The masses love it on TikTok and on YouTube. Anybody sponsored by this brand absolutely talks this product up, but I think it's the shade that didn't work for me, and that's why it's just my experience that I had with this specific product that makes me think this. For me, the She Glam Insta Ready Duo Face Powder. So it does have a pressed powder on the top and then a loose powder at the bottom. It is in the shade Bubblegum, but unfortunately I needed something a bit deeper for my skin tone. I do have the Insta Ready, the natural shade, which is closer to my skin tone. That I do like. It doesn't keep your oils at bay. Once again, your oils come through pretty quickly afterwards, maybe an hour even. This unfortunately didn't do it for me. It's too light, and on my skin tone, which is more of like a warm skin tone, I could lean neutral or warm, but unfortunately this just washes me out and it can make me look very ashy. So this is being put over here. Then at number 5, we have the Studio London Flaunt Flawless Setting Powder. And again, this is kind of like the Essence one in the sense that it stays quite white, but at least when you do moisten it up with some setting spray, it does settle into your skin a bit better, but it does give you a flashback. It holds my oils at bay a little bit longer than the previous 3 did, but unfortunately it's still just not there. I also don't like the smell of it. It does smell like chemicals, which is the same as the next 2 that will follow, but it is affordable. If you were in a pinch, I think it could work. This is definitely better used with a brush rather than with a powder puff or anything like that, because it can sit pretty topically and it doesn't move around if you've put it down on a certain spot. At number 4, again, this does pay me to say it because I wanted to like this powder so much, and it is the Collection Vit Hit Blurring Powder. Again, it is a translucent shade. Well, they call it transparent, but I don't know if transparent and translucent are the same, because for me it is. This powder is way too finely milled, too milled, and when you pop your brush into it, it like explodes into white powder everywhere. It's soft and it feels silky, it feels really nice, but unfortunately, again with this one, it just sits on top of the skin. It doesn't absorb in, it doesn't do much for keeping the oils at bay. But I do like the finish if you use it correctly. I would say there are better powders out there than this is. There's one that I used from Primark that is great, absolutely great, and is probably in the same price range as this is. This wasn't very cheap. I think it was £5 or £6 because when they came out with this Vit Hit line, they hiked their prices up a bit, but it's not that great in my opinion, but it's also not the worst, like I said. Then moving into my top 3, this is the Relove by Revolution HD Super Matte Powder. It looks like that. It does also have like a slight pinky hue to it. As you can see, I've used most of it up and I am actually wearing it on my face today. If I look slightly shiny, it's because I just filmed a monthly wrap up for my book channel. If you haven't subscribed there already, please go ahead and check that out. We just talk about books there, and it's much more relaxed and chilled. I literally spoke for like over an hour in that video, just rambling on, and I tried to leave things in like that because this channel is a little bit more curated than that channel is, so I think it's just fun to have both sides of the sword. Anyway, this is a good powder. I do like it. Again, the smell isn't great, and I think it's the mica and the talcum powder that makes it smell a bit like chemicals, but I do like the texture of this. I really love the finish of it. It's clear that I've used a lot of it. It is slightly more drying, but it's kind of what I need. I did set my chin like a lot, but like I said, I was sweating from previously filming, and I had a cup of tea and a blanket on my lap, and it was a lot. It was normal that my oils came through, but I really do like this powder and can't recommend it enough. I think I paid like £2.50 for this. Really affordable. I think we have it in South Africa as well. Really good, and I would recommend. Then my two favorites, unfortunately, I know we are a budget channel, but these are both high-end products. They are the minis, and they've lasted me a while because I use them super sparingly, but I absolutely love these two. I could use them interchangeably, but one definitely is more of the one that I would use on my wedding day. Put it that way. I have that much faith in it that I would use it on my wedding day. But at number 2, we have the Laura Mercier translucent honey powder. I'm sure you know what that looks like. Very cute little packaging. This is actually quite a bit. I think it is 9.3 grams, so it's not a little product, and I've barely used any of it because like I said, I do use it sparingly. Absolutely love this. The shade of the honey works perfectly for my skin, keeps my oils at bay. It's smoothing, it's blurring, it's all the things you want in a powder, and I couldn't recommend this anymore. I know it's so expensive, and I don't want to recommend high-end products, but if I compare this to all the budget brands, shall I say, this takes it. This takes the cake every single time, and it can't even compete in my opinion. So I would recommend this. It is great. I would recommend getting a mini if you don't use as much powder as some people do. I do not, because I do use a foundation powder and then set with this after my setting spray. This is just like that extra seal of locked inness for me, and oh my gosh, couldn't recommend it anymore. It is great. Then at number 1, the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder. This is absolutely amazing. This is much smaller than the Laura Mercier. I think this is 2 grams. This is only 2 grams. So the Laura Mercier value for money, I guess, is better, but this one, the finish is absolutely gorgeous. So it leaves you with a slight glow. It's not fully matte, but it sets your makeup down in the sense that your oils don't come through so quickly. The finish that it leaves and the smoothness, and oh my gosh, your skin feels like velvet and it looks like velvet and is absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, if you were gonna splurge, I would say get this because it is so good, and I cannot recommend it enough. Cannot. And I would definitely, if I do my own makeup, use this on my wedding day. Moving into my pressed powders, I didn't try a lot this year at all. I'm actually shocked, and I thought that I did try more, but it looks like I didn't, unless I left some of it in the UK. This is what I have with me right now, so this is what we'll be talking about. We only have 3, like I said, so we're going to start with the worst. It's not even the worst. It's just out of the 3, the one I like least to the one I like best. The first one we have here is the Catrice All Matte Plus Shine Control. I really love this powder. It is great. I use the deepest shade as well for a bronzer. It's long lasting, it's smoothing, it's shine control, it does all the things. But unfortunately, again, the color range isn't quite there. I needed a shade lighter than this, but the only one lighter than this was for like really light-skinned people. So I couldn't find my shade, but if I did, I would literally use this all the time, but I'd have to tan a little bit more in order to use this all over my face. But it's really great to use on top of a foundation maybe that's too light for me and then I need to set down. I would definitely use this because it's not bad at all, but it doesn't trump the ones that I like best. Then we have the Rimmel Lasting Finish at number 2. This is good. It's really good. It is better than the Catrice one, but at the same time, again, I couldn't find my shade, and I'm not sure if they discontinued it or if they ordered excess stock, but I got mine in Warm Caramel. And what is this shade? This one I got Sunday. I was incorrect with getting my shade, but this is too deep for me. But I do, again, really like the finish. I like the lasting power of it, and Rimmel's pretty good with foundation products, so they will never steer you wrong, except you need to choose your colors better. There were no testers on the day that I went, and like like I said, it was in the sales rack, so that wasn't really an option. This is really good, and I would recommend it. But my all-time favorite, the best at number 1 for me at the moment, is this Maybelline Super Stay Full Coverage Powder Foundation. This is so good. I got mine in the shade Golden Caramel. This one is so good. I've been using it literally. Look how horrible the packaging is though. It's yuck. But I've been using this every single day. Every single day. I didn't use it today though, but every other day I use this as a powder on top of, especially if I'm using more of like a skin tint, and I'll use this on top of it to just mattify my face and add extra coverage. Amazing. Amazing. Like, I would use this on my wedding day as well in combination with that powder. Oh my gosh. Chef's kiss. Great. Great, great, great. Couldn't recommend it anymore. It's so, so good. If it's available near you, I'd say definitely go out and purchase it. It is so good. Moving into bronzers and blushes, I think none of these are the worst. They are not the worst. They're all good for certain reasons or have a little bit of a flaw, but everything here I'm not even gonna rank because I like them all, but let's just talk about them. So the first one I have here is the Makeup Revolution Blush Duo. So I did a Makeup Revolution video. This is I Heart Revolution, and this is actually a blush palette, but I ended up using this as a bronzer because I couldn't find the bronzer in the range. They came in like the palettes, but I didn't want that 5-pan palette because I'd have no use for the creams and stuff. So I thought I'd pick this up and use it as that. I did like it. It's very, very pigmented, so you have to be very careful and have the lightest hand. I don't see who would really use this color as a blush because it's more of like a warm bronzer tone. I really did like it. It's more like a brown sugar tone to it. It's gorgeous and I really like it and I would recommend. Next we have the Studio London product, and this is actually a pressed powder in the shade number 3. Unfortunately, they again didn't have a bronzer that I could find that day, so I got a deeper shade and I used this as a bronzer. This isn't the best. It needs to be built up quite a bit, and it is a very, very powdery. If you needed something, I would get it, but it's not on the top of my list, but I don't hate it. I definitely don't dislike this at all, but it's just not one of my absolute favorites. It's good. It's good. Then I'm not sure if I tried this year or last year. I feel like I tried it this year. I should have checked because I tried the matte powder a couple of months ago. I thought maybe I'd just add this in because I remember using it this year, but I could be wrong. This is again the all matte plus shine control powder, and I use this as a bronzer. It's too deep for me, but if you use a really light hand, this is gorgeous. It's so smooth, it's so long lasting, and it has a really neutral undertone. I really, really, really love this, and I would recommend, especially if you could find a shade that works as a bronzer for you. It's really, really good, and I would recommend again. Like I said, I would recommend all these bronzers. Next, we have the Collection Vit Hit Bronzer. I love this bronzer. It again has a neutral undertone, so it's really, really, really easy to work with. What's my shade? My shade is Golden Kiwi 1. I think it is a bit too light for me. My problem with it is that it keeps hard panning. I don't know if you can see there's like a sheen over the top. It smells really good. And unfortunately, it keeps hard panning. So I'm having to scrape off the top every time, which is my only gripe with this. But I love the tone of this. I love the shade. Even though it's slightly too light, it just does what it needs to do. It's super smooth. It's long lasting. It's all the things. And it smells really, really nice. Then these are actually my top 2. I would put these in my top 2 if we were ranking them. First, we have the Playgirl Bronze. It's just called Bronze, and it is by Sunkissed, and that is what it looks like. I got mine in the shade Butterscotch. I really like this for summer as more of like a sun-kissed, sunburnt type of bronzer. Like, I love this. It's the perfect tone. In winter, it can emulate like that I was in the sun, but it can be a little bit too orange in the winter. But in the summer, it looks absolutely gorgeous on the skin. I don't like Sunkissed as a brand, but their Playgirl side of things is actually pretty good, and I would recommend once again. Lastly, my favorite. I actually tried this pretty recently, probably I want to say 3 to 4 weeks ago, and this is the MUA Makeup Academy Bronzed Matte Bronzing Powder. I didn't think this would match my skin tone again, but it's the perfect tone for me for a like nice contoury shade. It leans more neutral than it does warm, even though it looks warmer in the pan, but it's really nice and neutral, and it's super affordable. I think this is 119 Rand, so the same price as an Essence one would be, but it's really, really, really good, and I want everybody to try this. It is really, really, really good. Then moving into blush, so same story. It's hard for me to dislike a blush unless it's not pigmented or it's not the shade that I want. It literally is impossible for me not to like blush. I'm a blush girl through and through, and I say it and I'll say it again. again because I absolutely love blush. So again, no real particular order, but the last three I kind of lean towards at the moment, and they're not even the colors that I usually prefer, but I really am leaning towards them lately. First one we have here is again the Relove by Revolution blush palette. This one is in the shade Daydream. I really do like this highlight as well. I'm wearing it again today, and I don't wear highlight or like highlight, but this is the only one I actually tried this year, a powder one. Love it. It's so good. Both of these, it's very pigmented, so do be careful. I love pigmented blushes personally. Again, this is very pigmented, so you have to have a very light hand with it. It can tend to fade quite quickly. I wouldn't say quickly, but it does fade, put it that way, if you don't add enough. Layer it. Don't go in full force first, like with the first dip, because you'll be scarred. But this is really good, and I can't recommend it anymore. Then next, actually, I tried one of these maybe a year or two ago, but I retried it when I did my Rimmel video, and this is their Maxi Blush. I like this. I didn't even think that this shade again would match me. I never think like a baby pink, light pink will suit me because I sometimes can look ashy and grey, but this is a great color. It does have a slight sheen through it. The sheen is not glittery, it's glimmery. So there's no actual glitter in it, but it just has a nice pearlescent to it, and I really do like it, and I would recommend. I wish they had like more of a variety in their shades, but they kind of just more of the same. I have the like deeper plum color, but it does pull more like magenta. It is good, and I really like it. Then this is my favorite peach blush, really. This is True Peach by PS Primark. I really like this. It is quite light, so I need to layer it quite a bit, but it's the perfect peach, and it does have a slight sheen through it again, so you don't need a highlighter afterwards. Really good. I always like the Primark blushes. They always got the perfect amount of pigment. Not like the Revolution one where you're completely shocked by the first dip if you're not careful, but it's really pigmented, and it shows up, and it's really good if you're looking for an affordable blush. Like it says on there, it's $150, so nothing. Then another Playgirl product, and this is the blush that goes with the bronzer, and this one is in the shade Summer Fling, and this is more of like a nice burnt orange shade, even though it looks more peachy. But if you look at the two next to each other, you can see one is slightly deeper, so it pulls more like orange on my skin. This is more like a pinky undertone, if I'm seeing that correctly, but in my opinion anyway. This is a nice blush again. It's very smooth, very long lasting. Really love it. For some reason, I'm leaning out of the orange blushes lately and more into like a more pinky tone, which I am wearing today. So yeah, this is good, and I would recommend it. I paid like 85 Rand for this, so that's nothing. Then the last three blushes, really love. They can be interchangeable. That's not my top one or anything. The first one is the Vit Hit by Collection Cute Citrus Blusher, and this is in the shade Pomelo 2. It's like a pinky orangey tone. I love this. It's so natural on my skin. Like, it's not anything too crazy, and it's very subdued, and the pigmentation is perfect. It's smooth. I love this. I really love this. Then the last two, I have first the Essence Blush Crush. These are the newer blushes. The previous ones were just called the Blush, and I didn't like them. A lot of people did, but I didn't. But these are great. Mine is in the shade Cool Berry, and it is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. It is quite loosely packed in there, so it doesn't hard pan, but if you drop this even once, I'm sure it will shatter because it is so loosely packed. But you only need like 2 taps in there, and you can do both cheeks with it. That is my perfect makeup item, literally, because I hate faffing. So this is really great. I would recommend. I really want to get more shades. I want to get like the more orangey one just to see how that looks, but I would recommend these, and they're not expensive at all. The last one, which I've actually been using it every single day this week, except today I used the Collection Fit Hit one because I just wanted to change it up. But this is the MUA Makeup Academy Blushed Matte Blush Powder, and I got mine in the shade Misty Rose. So I'm into like more rose tones for some reason. I just feel like it looks more natural on me, but it does have more of like an orangey undertone. So it looks really complimentary on my skin. I love it. I couldn't recommend it enough. That is all the powders, blushes, and bronzers that I tried this year. Like I said, I couldn't rank bronzers and blushes because I love them all equally, but the powders, literally I did have some at the worst end of the scale. But yeah, let me know what you tried this year, what you liked, what you didn't like, and what your opinion is. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like this kind of content. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!